Welcome, everybody. How's everybody doing? Welcome to the Serbian Corner, show where a couple of Serbians talk about the Nuggets. We're on DNVR YouTube channel, DNVR Nuggets podcast feed. My name is Voja, coming from Lincoln. Well, actually from Belgrade, then Lincoln. And today with me is Miroslav, as always, hailing from Pančevo. What's up, man?
Well, Michael Jordan had his flu game, and I'm wearing my Polska, my Poland t-shirt today. So this show will be remembered as a Polish show from Miroslav. Good day, everybody.
Good. Well, two of us are here. The guys are all scattered around, and we just wanted to do the solo. Screw everybody. I'm kidding. So this show is usually the weekly recap of Nuggets basketball. As you know, we're on Saturdays, usually weekends, but we might flip around on Fridays or Mondays. We have quick takeaways, the main themes, disagreements, everything else in between. And we'll start off usually with our Rakija shots. And this is a Serbian national alcoholic drink, usually taken before dinner, so to make a toast. So what this segment is, will be a quick headline, something that made a quick impression this week, something like strong, because it's really, really strong drink. And we got to correct the mistake from last week when Brandon said he learned there's good rakia and bad rakia, and we got called out by our people with all they should have done that, and obviously with all due correctness. The thing is, there is no bad rakia. So when you ask someone did you ever had bad rakia? Yes. And how was it? It was good. So that's the anecdote we should have said. We apologize to every one of our
You just
listeners.
need to get to that level when every rakia is good. So sorry.
Yeah. They're all good. So we got to remedy that. And because we joke, there's bad and good. So we'll start off this week. There's some interesting things. Obviously, the games weren't that great. So we're going to start off with some news. Again, great games usually mean we're going to talk more about the news because there's not much. We beat Portland and Houston and shot 1 from 28 from the starters in OKC game. So not much to philosophize about that. So you start us off. What's your first Rakija shot?
Well, it was a tweet by Mike Singer of the Denver Post. He reported on Thursday that the Nuggets scrapped plans of sending Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray to Grand Rapids for the time being. And that was the first time that Jamal Murray was mentioned in context of team training. And that was really, really exciting. Of course, we don't know precisely when and if both Jamal and Michael Porter will return to playing basketball with the Nuggets. But I was getting really, really nervous about the lack of news about Jamal coming into March. This report at least gives us back the hope of both of them coming back to the team before the playoffs, because there were some, messages about them coming right for the playoffs or slightly before that. This could mean it's a bit better than that. I think we should concentrate on things like this and not on some random brain fart games like the one against the OKC. This will help us as fans with surviving this final stretch of games with less frustrations and more joy. And as I mentioned in one of my tweets, we are still 15 days away from the March 20th, and that's the day when the day will finally start being longer than the night. And it will be, the end of fake spring and coming to real spring for Denver Nuggets. So time to get to more joy. I'm not calling for championship hopes yet, even though I was the one predicting the championship in the Unfinished Business season preview episode about Nikola Jokic back in October. But I'm looking forward to seeing something more than just Joker finding the open guy and hoping for the best in the playoffs. I want to see some of that reverse 5-1 pick and roll with Jamal while Michael Porter is stretching the floor and hitting contested threes. I want Memphis or Utah or Golden State to see 80% of full-strength Nuggets in the first round of playoffs this season. And even if we lose the first round, with a nominally full roster, I will feel so much better about next season's odds. So I just jumped from championship to losing in the first round in one sentence, but this is the way this season goes, man.
Yeah, this is the way. that's that's funny. I would say for as far as this week in OKC game, I mean this was more like our our Nuggets that we're used to, where they win 5 or 6 games and then they lose one, and then they win 5 or 6 or 3 or 4 and then lose one. There's a reason why it's only 8 games record for number of wins in a row when Jokic is playing as well since he started playing for the Nuggets. It is like last year they were dominant and it didn't look like they were going to lose ever, and then they have a 20-point lead and lose to Celtics. So this is basically what we're used to. Like when they were number 2 seed, I was mentioning we did a show with in Serbian a few minutes ago, and I was mentioning like this is what when they were number 2 seed, it was basically the same thing. Like no one knew that they were number 2 because they would just lose. They would just lose like some simple games that, or like a national TV game that everyone would know. So like we would win, but no one was aware of them. So this is kind of like I'm back in my comfort zone. So this is for me. This was at least great. As far as Jamal, that's interesting. Yeah, you're right. Like we didn't really see any news before about him being like we knew MPJ did an Instagram thing again about saying that he's going to join and all that stuff, but the Jamal wasn't even mentioned, like even in the Vogue report. So I find that fascinating that he was supposed to also go train. What do you think? Why didn't they?
Jamal?
Jamal and MPJ, why didn't they go to G League?
I think it was reported also that they would have only one day of training with the Gold, and it would be just too much hassle of traveling all the way to Michigan and then come back a day after that. So I think that was the main reason why they didn't go there, and they figured we have enough training staff in Denver.
I mean, for one day, yeah. I'm surprised they were.
Yeah.
I suspected they're going to be there longer. I didn't know.
I guess there were some games planned. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I don't follow Grand Rapids Gold in detail.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, they were. That's interesting, especially now they lost Nick Stauskas to the Celtics, so they could have used Michael Porter to start making some shots. Yeah, that's. I mean, yeah, definitely that made an impression, especially because you see the headline, you're like, oh, they scrapped plans to send him. You're like, oh, what happened? Is it? And then Singer has to do like, oh no, actually, it's not nothing. Like, there's not a setback. They're just changing the plans. They were just
That's right.
And again, they weren't the ones reporting the official Nuggets account that they were going to go to the Grand Rapids anyway. So they just, I don't know, maybe they were like, oh, we don't want the publicity or whatever it was. It's interesting that they scrapped it. I'm glad that Murray's there, like that they were supposed to be there already for training, that he would have gone to the actual other teams. And of course they would be careful and everything, but it's not working with the coaches only. You also do the stuff with the other players. So my Rakija shot was continuing with Murray is his interview with Complex Sports. Did you end up reading that?
Yeah.
Did you see that one? What'd you think?
It's very meaningful. It's really you can see what kind of competitor he is and how much he wants to come back to the game and how much he loves playing for the Nuggets next to Nikola it's just I just feel like he is a bull in corrida that's supposed to just ran out of the gate.
Yeah, he's there
and get those guys over there. So yeah, I'm just really thrilled about the possibility of seeing him during this month maybe. So that would be just awesome. I don't have a big takeaways about him. It's just the energy of him.
It's for me. So if for people that don't know, Jamal Murray did a sit down interview that they transcribed. Complex Sports did. It's a short interview. I mean, a few questions, but they talked about some of the stuff about Jokic MVP. That's the tweet I made about how I'm hoping they become like permanent Nuggets players, for the rest of their careers. Just you see the friendship, and then we saw the tunnel shots when Jokic is in a suit and Jamal is like jumping on him, like seeing how he looks. That's kind of their brotherhood. They're like, people didn't think that was there at the beginning, right? Like, remember, like people were talking how Jamal wants the spotlight, he wants to be the number one guy, and it turned out to be like, no, it's actually just their partnership. And so he mentioned stuff, as far as Jokic, it was great because he defended him like the right way. He wasn't just regular, like, oh yeah, he should be the MVP. He's the MVP. Blah blah. He said why. Like, people that watch basketball know basketball. understand what he does on the court. And for people that still don't think that's enough, what else do you want him to do? Like, basically like calling out the xenophobia. Like, what do you need to dunk between his legs for you to notice? Like, he's doing basketball things that are for winning, not just for flash. Although he has flash. As far as the other side of his injury stuff that kind of jumps on Rakija, mixes up with Rakija, is that he mixing Rakija. That's this. We haven't done that yet.
Not very smart to do.
Yeah, we'll survive. He basically was talking about his recovery, and like it just looked like he was saying, he's not putting any pressure on himself. Also, not giving any false hope to people like, oh, I'm 5 days away. He didn't put a number on it. It was basically, I'll see how it goes, because some days are bad, some days are good. And for anyone that actually have had injuries, that rehab is never like a straight shot. Like, you always, there's good days, there's bad days. Sometimes you see like, oh my god, I'm healed completely, and the next day you want to fall apart. So that was I liked that he was actually didn't like give anyone false hope. We'll see. Hopefully he will come back, but again, because of that stupid season last year, it was April where around the All-Star break, which means like now he's pushed almost to the end of the season because of it. So like technically could have lost like a season and a half, 2 season. So Miroslav is asking me how am I dealing with the fame after ending up on the jumbotron and the TV as from my tweet. It's fine. I mean, they were talking about the interview, not my tweet. Like, so it was just cool to see. It was actually more fun for my little cousin that's on my profile picture to see that he is also on there. That's why I put him on the profile pic, because like he'll go with me wherever the tweets go. So that's, we'll see. Like, what do you think about Jamal and putting pressure on his recovery and stuff? Do you think that's a good idea, or like, do you think, is it fair for fans to always talk about it and like mention it? And he's always being asked that. And it's like, how do you think he feels in that situation?
I mean, the fans can't help themselves. It's the only thing that's the only thread of hope of having championship hopes this season already, and you can't blame fans for that.
No, not blame. This is just like, what do you think he feels?
Yeah. I think the Nuggets are really doing a good job with not pushing him and not trying to put a date on when he returns, and waiting for him to tell them that he feels really good. And I actually believe that he's already cleared medically, meaning that nothing is wrong with him anymore. So it's just for him to make that psychological breakthrough and don't feel any pressure or soreness after every training or after every game. And I think he will be feeling some soreness on that knee for several months, even after he returns. But they're professional athletes. They know they need to soak their legs into ice cold water every day. And there is even that story about Predrag Sasha Danilovic, who finished his career in age 30. He was a Miami Heat and Dallas Mavericks player, as well as the superstar in Europe. And he just quit at age of 30. And he said, man, I just cannot go through the whole routine, like 2 hours a day of just putting the shields on my legs and then putting them into ice and so on and so on. So hopefully, of course, Jamal is far from that stage of his career. And I'm just excited to see how it looks like when he actually comes back, hopefully soon.
Yeah, and it's so what you said basically. From I'm assuming medically everything's fine. As a normal person that towards his ACL, he can live with his life normally. As an NBA player, obviously, like, he has to build up his strength, build up everything around it, and conditioning as well.
Lose some weight as well.
And then in his head, mentally, to like accept that he can go and dunk and like do a step back, and it's not even just pure dunking. Like, you can tempo that and dunk. It's just through contact or landing awkwardly or like forcefully, like, planting your foot on that knee, because that's what gets you. So it was very interesting. And I like that he's not like pressuring himself to come back right now. Like I'd rather have him not come back, but like ensure that he can play for the next 5 years without any problems, than rush him now, then have a complication that off season needs to be handled in. Because that also, I mean, we see what happened with Cousins with Clay, like that can prolong and make it even worse for for the future. So just
Also,
for like a
Clay.
short term, because we don't even know if even with if he was 100% right now, who knows if the Nuggets would win anyway. Like we assume because they were that good last year, but even that with matchups in the NBA, like it's crazy. Like you never know what can happen. So that's I'm glad this is how it's turning out, especially with all the circumstances. Obviously, better if he
Yeah.
didn't get injured, but it is what it is right now. And it's fun to see him like upbeat and he's traveling with the team and that interaction with Jokic. Like he's not because easy you can get into depression when you get injured and just completely be like, what am I doing this for? Like where's the end goal of this? Like it's been a year and I still don't see it, or like I think I see it, but then it just slips out of my hands within a day of setback or something. So that's
It's crazy.
I'm happy. I'm just happy to see them on the court. Like I don't know when, but just whenever it's going to be really fun and like really cool to see him. So we're gonna. Oh yeah, we have a third shot, like a together shot. We have to mention Boogie, right?
Yeah, Boogie.
Yeah, go for it.
Boogie, man. I mean, 5 days ago I was raving about Boogie, and then he drops 31 and 9 and 4 in the first game he starts because Nikola Jokic had to miss the game for the non-COVID illness. And I'm so happy for him. I said in the last show that I expect him to earn 5 millions a year for the next season with how well he's playing, and this is really proving it. And I'm to be honest, I don't think he'll be back with the Nuggets because I think he will want to start somewhere because he really is too good for a backup center. It's just the thing that he cannot stay on the court for more than 20 minutes.
Uh,
And there are some, those token starters like Bogut in Golden State who played like for 15 minutes per game, even though he was always starting for them. So I think he would prefer that kind of role to the one that he really is on the Nuggets. But we should enjoy his time. This is what actually pumps me even more about Jamal and Michael Porter's return, because we have another guy, and I kid you not. I really believe that Boogie is top 3 in skill on the Nuggets. When everybody is there, I only think that Jokic and Jamal Murray
yeah.
have more skill than Boogie. Of course, Boogie is lacking
No, of course. I mean, yeah, we're
stuff
talking
right
about
now,
skill. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but pure skill, man. I mean,
Honestly,
I
like
don't know.
it
Maybe
does. Yeah,
Faku
yeah.
as well,
It
but
does sound crazy, but overall, like even with including Facu, like yeah, he's great, but in specific things, you're
yeah,
right. I mean, he might. That sounds it sounds really out there, but think about it, just overall what he can do and what he could do. Like, I mean, he was an All NBA center. He was the best center in the league, and yeah,
that's right.
it's great.
He
I mean, it
was
was
Jokic before
yeah.
the Jokic. He was by far the best passing center in the league before Jokic came to the league. So
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I can't think off the top of my head. I just my Horford, the only one that comes into mind is just who's the great passer, and I get Joakim Noah, but he just visually didn't look as fluid and stuff. But Boogie was more like I would say he was like the mix. He had some of the Jokic's skill, not all of it, not even close, but like some of the skill in his passing, but then was more like Embiid before Embiid. Like I would say, like because you can see him
yeah,
yesterday, like he's lumbering and like he does this stuff that Embiid does. He's so strong. Then he was running through guys, but then obviously you can't run through a person that easily. And then we get a foul call and like the shots and the step back. Like that was really fun. How he's sitting obviously, and then Keith from Fast Food Back was trolling and saying like Jokic is a system player, which again was a perfect comment. First of all, perfect comment from him, but then also perfect. I was already starting to get a tweet out. I'm like, should I say it? Like, the future is safe in the Nuggets' hands with Boogie as their best center, like just like as a joke. But I'm like, I'm not gonna do it. Like, people are gonna take it probably out of context, and which probably on Monday, like people might talk. Like, if this was a Thursday game, maybe even national TV, the Friday shows would have been probably like, oh my God, is Boogie back or what? And then someone would have been a smart ass and like, well, what does this say about Jokic? And like, what? Nothing. But it just says about like Malone and the culture, and then just how skilled Boogie is, and the fact that what you said exactly is like the skill player type of skills the Jokic has, Boogie can replicate to a point. So he's even like he's between like Plumlee and Jokic, quality wise. And so now the style of play, like give and goes with Gordon, passes out from the middle of the court to a corner shooter, all that stuff is stuff that Jokic does to like elite level, and Boogie is like just below that right now because
forget the numbers. Every time he touched the ball, something good happened. Maybe it was a handoff, maybe it was a post up, maybe it was a pass from the double. Every time he did the correct play, and he made some mistakes, but come on, he had that bench unit really looks solid. I know they're playing trash teams right now, and we need to
big asterisks. Like yes, it's Houston, we know, but
that's right.
It's still 30 points against an NBA team. Like
and Nikola Jokic, I don't think he would score 30 and
no, he doesn't have
against Houston because he doesn't care. So
that's Miroslav is right. Like he did say that a few weeks ago on our Nugget Serbia podcast, sign him for a year and a half just because of giving him this half a year to get back on his feet, and then the next year you have him for that minimum contract. Before if he ends up if there's a chance to have him like outplay that contract, you get him for a cheap deal. Now you're right. He might play himself out of this. Which I don't care. Like if he can help this year, just so he can show the Tim Connelly just like what type of players they need for the future, like what type they can fit in there, and or the fact that like if you're gonna go with Forbes and Greens and stuff, you can't have them be the center. Like you can't have Greens be the center, like a small ball unnatural position center. You have to have then a natural center that knows how to navigate in those waters, like Boogie showed that he can do.
Just one more detail about the last night game. Facu looked really good next to elite shooters in Forbes and Bones Highland, and also with Boogie with his gravity. It was just a good.
I mean, this is one of those things. Like two of us are like ripping hair off our heads. Like, yes, look at Real Madrid. Like, there's not a bad shooter on that team when Facu was playing. Like,
that's right.
That's the only thing he needs. If he doesn't have that, then it's very limited, and then it doesn't click. So easy explanation.
Of course.
Yeah, cool. We want to go to Borek?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm hungry. I haven't eaten today, so let's go. So this is our nice juicy pastry from home from Serbia. It comes either with cheese, spinach, meat. We even had like a dessert Borek last week when we talked about Michael Porter stuff. Maybe cherries or apples or something like that. This will be something, maybe the best thing of the week, maybe something just meaty, something we can talk about the most, or something that's important that we want to talk about most. So maybe the big caloric intake, something juicy.
And we already spent 23 minutes on our Rakija shots, which should be quick. So
yeah, I mean that's I mean if you know, like if you know what Rakija is, like one shot can turn into a bottle. So
that's right.
Depends on the topics. Like we might. It's not as bad. Like we can even be, we can be worse. It could have been Rakija for the whole show, and then stumbling out of the gate just end the show abruptly. So let's start with, what do you want to start with? We have the NBA reform stuff, or we have Barton 3-point.
Let's start with Barton.
Okay, let's go with Barton. So 3-point record yesterday. Probably it's a big thing. It's a franchise leader. Guys talked about it yesterday a little bit during the week because he was like, oh, it's going to be this week. So every guys in the NBA every time would talk about like, what does this mean, and he's going to do it this game, and then he had a 19 3-point shot miss streak, longest in his career. We saw that with Steph. Do you think now he's out of the slump, or you still think he'll be a bad percentage shooter for the rest? Because he was good, then he was bad, catastrophic. Do you think he's back on track, or is somewhere in the middle?
We will see. I mean, those stories about the franchise records are really good and juicy for us, talking about the game every day or every week in our case. But it can be disserviceful to players. I don't think it's good for players to be aware of those things, because they can get in their heads, and we'll have like 19 consecutive missed threes, which is really, really awful. It sounds like Jamal Murray's start of the NBA career, field goals. So, I mean, Will was never a top level 3-point shooter. He was always streaky. He was always having those 4 of 4 quarters, and then he would follow that with 0 for 6 for the rest of the game. So this is the kind of shooter Will is. He is playing for the Nuggets for 7.5 seasons right now. He's the longest tenured Nugget right now. So it makes sense that in an era when all the teams in the league shoot more threes than those famous 3-point shooting teams from the past did, it makes sense that in this era you will get a lot of those kind of records. I'm actually surprised not more than how many 3 guys from this era, let's say like that, are on the top places. So it's
Jokic, Jamal, and Will. Yeah.
Oh, and also
Porter,
the brain fart guy who played just before them,
J.R. Smith.
J.R. Smith, yeah. So I also call him like a recent guy.
Fair.
And then you go to the 4th or 5th position, and now you finally get somebody from the old times. I think it's Alman Adams. So when you look at that, of course, it makes sense that somebody playing a lot of games in this modern era will get to that kind of record. And I don't know, it's not very meaningful to me, but I'm glad Will is enjoying that, and I hope it will give him a bit of a boost for the end of the season.
Yeah, it's So for context, J.R. Smith 372 games, 768 out of 2010 threes. Barton had 464 games, 769 for 2132, so 2132. So more games, more shots. Obviously, this era, and J.R. Smith went on to to other teams and stuff. So this brings up the question. Like, we're not going to poo-poo on Will. Like, this is a great achievement, especially like Harrison was talking about that. He was coming in as first of all not on the Nuggets for a few years, so we always have that gap. Like with Jokic now, Jokic in his prime, but then you do the career averages and he's like 16 points a game, like something like that, because of the first few years when you're still coming up. Like, he wasn't a first pick, then he can start jacking up shots right away. So with Barton, he comes in as a non-shooter, then goes to Portland, doesn't play much, then goes to Denver and doesn't play much from the start. Shots, getting the more opportunities and good looks, even, because it's not always just about shooting. It's just getting the appropriate shot. So he has obviously this is a great opportunity to talk about like what we constitute as a great shooter, especially like we come from a country that's the thing. Like, yes, athleticism, we have athletic guys, we had dunkers throughout the years, like everything, like from the area, but shooting is the thing. Like, that's what you like. Lithuania, Serbia, like that's your pinnacle of basketball, is like good shooters. First, I have a couple of questions to start you off. Like, what factors do come in when you talk about a best shooter, like a good shooter, what you consider best? You can have like either statistics, looks, clutchness, all that. And then where would you like rate Will in that list of like good shooters? And we'll visit like on the actual Nuggets what we think he's actually rated in like the Nuggets history of the best shooters on the team.
Well, statistically wise, I need to have a volume shooter, so not somebody who's shooting like 3 threes per game like Zeke Naji. I need somebody who shoots at least 5, 6 threes or more threes per game, and then of course he should be hitting more than 40% of his threes on big sample. So right now, if I would have to compare him to other shooters on the Nuggets, I think Michael Porter and Bryn Forbes are by far the best shooters on the team. Right after them, I would put Jamal, who is actually a big moment shooter. That's also very, very big qualifier.
Yeah.
When does the great shooter shoots the best, and that's when the lights are brightest for Jamal. And then, of course, I always say Nikola Jokic is a great shooter. He's also a bit streaky about the 3-point shot, but when the push comes to shove, he can have really, really good 3-point games in really important games.
Yep.
So I think Will is actually middle of the pack on the current Nuggets roster. I think he's up there with Monte. I would even put a bit more quality to Monte's shot than to Will's. but it all depends. It all depends how you look at it. And league-wise, of course, league-wide, you have so many insane shooters right now. So I don't think he is on the top level of NBA shooters right now.
Yeah. So, well, it's okay. We go talk about just overall objectively good shooters, or even sometimes it's subjective, like you like someone's form
Oh, it's very
better,
subjective
whatever.
in in
But
in,
I mean,
in several.
but let's we have Steph Curry. That's the pinnacle. Like we have we again for Serbian listeners now, you can also after this show go and watch our Nugget Serbia podcast. We talked about it even in depth more with one of our friends. Steph Curry pinnacle, like the variety of shots that he can make, the consistency which he makes it with. That's what you kind of that's your bar, and you have to compare with like how close to it they get, because also aesthetically looks good. Historically, even in big shots, like basically like the entire package of shooters. Then you got your Clays, your Kyle Korvers, Ray Allen's, like specialists. Obviously, Ray Allen in later part of his career, like specialists, aesthetically pleasing. Although I still like I'm on a limb of like Ray Allen and Kyle Korver for me, like less aesthetically pleasing than Clay Thompson first, and then honestly like Caitlin Clark from Iowa College right now. She's one of the best looking jumpers
Oh, yeah,
in
I
history.
saw that. Yeah,
I so that's like those are my like prettiness of a jump shot. But then you have like the situation, like they might not have a dribble shooting like Steph because of just the style of play, and like they don't even get the clutch shots. On occasion they might get like a bounce ball, like Ray Allen in the finals. They can prove themselves even there. So there's those bars, and with Will is interesting. Like first of all, Nuggets, when you look at that list, the fact that JR was on top is great. Like he's a great shooter, but again, it's funny that none of those are like you consider those all time all around shooters, like every position, every situation. Like it's the streaky thing. Like JR can go for 8 threes. Well, Barton went for 7 this year at one point, or 7 or 8, but then they can go from all 5. So with good shooters, like you rarely have games that are that bad. Like Steph can have a bad game, but it's not that often. Like it's very much an aberration. And so I would say I would agree with you. Like with current team, like he's kind of there historically. Yeah, he's the best shooter numbers wise, but what is that? What does that translate? Like I don't know if anyone considers him the best shooter. He's like respectable shooter, and you want him on your team. Like it's not like I don't want Barton to shoot. It's just like he was joking, like, oh, I'm the best shooter because get the record. And I'm it's really cool. Again, the arena moment when everyone stood up for him and cheered, and like that's very much deserved. Like this is not a
of course,
poo-poo
of course.
parade on him.
And I
It was
think
just interesting.
he's always warmed up the best out of all of his teammates. So he's usually hot in the first quarter, unlike other
Yeah.
guys. And he usually makes most of his points in the first quarter anyway. And this is based of no research. It's just eye test. I have no idea if that's true,
Yeah.
but it feels like that.
Feels like yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so that's one thing, and then we go just a question also for everyone in the chat. What do you think? Just who do you think will end up on that list? Do you think anyone on this team will, and whoever does, like, do you think they'll then can have the title of the best shooter in Nuggets history?
Jamal for sure.
But do
Absolutely.
you think so? So my thing is like if he does, I still think he will become the best. Like he will be on historically the best shooter the Nuggets ever had. Uh, but what do you think? Like, because we were also talking about not just 3 pointers overall. Because Carmelo's in there, it has to be like Chauncey's one of those, but more he didn't have the numbers because of different teams and stuff. But you have Carmelo, you have Chauncey. Like we have again now it's Will as numbers. Gary was on that list as well, and then Jamal. I think Jamal ends up being the number one guy. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And I really hope Michael Porter will be there as well. Because if he
That was my
gets
next
there,
question. Do you
if
think
he
he'll have
gets
enough
there,
games? Yeah,
if he gets there, that means Nuggets are in a really, really good groove,
yeah,
in a
yeah.
really, really good position. So if you get both Jamal and Michael Porter on top of that list, that means some things have went really well, and we will be uh, the Lakers of 2020s. So
Yeah, if I think you're right. If those two are number one and two, then it's going to be a travesty if they don't win a title. Like
That's
if
right.
that happens, because that means Michael Porter has enough games, enough shots to make that far up, and then Jamal already is like close. One of the better moments yesterday was Jamal at the announcing table with Katie Wingy and Vic Lombardi, asking them for his basketball reference page, like what, how many do I have, how many do, and he's like 365 days, I'm getting it. So and that's why I say like him and Jokic are such a good symbiosis of players, because like he has that fire, like he's pissed now that he's hurt for a year and he's
and,
not on top of that list.
and he will not let Tim Connolly trade away Will Barton. He wants to make it a real race. He
Oh yeah,
doesn't
of
want to
course,
just
exactly. Like you don't want to, yeah, you don't want
just
to
run
kick him
over
out.
him.
Because yeah, if Gary continues, like Gary had a shot, like he was up, he was going, and then it just cratered. So we'll see. And then yeah, like I think, and then it was, I felt bad for him for missing 19 in a row, because Steph did the similar thing. Like he had a bad shooting nights when he was close to the record. You just get nervous. Like there's more than then your mind starts wandering. Like there's no muscle memory in that situation anymore. It's just you start being like, oh, what if I miss? Like, oh, I got to make this. And then you see at the beginning of the game, he misses one and it rolls out, and you can see his face. Like everyone's like sighing, like, oh, man, can't catch a break. Like
Yeah,
not even that. Oh,
yeah, that's right.
yeah.
It,
You
it,
want to
it
go to
was a bit
yeah.
sad.
Yeah, you want to go to the NBA reform. I'm interested to see this because we didn't talk. Like we try to for these ideas, we try to separate them, and so we don't like shoot off our takes before the show. And I don't want to be
Yeah,
surprised to see
yeah,
this
I want to surprise you.
NBA
Yeah.
reform.
So I will start with this team with a Debbie Downer take. Why is the team not showing up on a random night in an 82 game season like we saw a couple of nights ago? So the Nuggets were shamefully defeated at home with 3 days of rest
Yeah.
versus a terrible team from OKC that was 8 players short. Some of the things I thought were notable: Jokic was facing Poku in several possessions in the first quarter on both sides of the court. You could see he wasn't trying to do anything to this his young fellow Serbian. And I want to try to explain this because this reminded me of a story Žarko Paspalj told probably 10 years ago. Žarko was a legendary Yugoslav player from the late 80s and 90s who was a peer of Vlade Divac, Dražen Petrovic, and Toni Kukoc. He spent one season on the Spurs in 1989-1990, and that was also a rookie season for Vlade and Dražen. And back then, there were very few players from Europe and especially Yugoslavia in the league. So in order to help each other, they would talk before the games and made signals for each other. So they would make it look like they are guarding each other, but in reality, they would just let each other score in bunches.
Wow,
to help their careers.
I mean, literally,
That's what Žarko said. These are not my words.
No. That's what I'm saying. Like that's crazy statement because I mean, if that was found out at that point, like that could have been like points shaving, and like that ruins the betting, and even then, like that could have been a lot of trouble for them.
That was
that.
before the advanced analytics, because
Yeah, of
nowadays
course, yeah.
guys know they can't do that because it's just too damaging to their stats, and
Yeah,
they
yeah,
know
that too,
that also will ruin their future contracts.
Yeah.
So when Žarko got back to Europe, Vlade would continue doing that with Sasha Danilovic and so on during the 90s. So let me make this clear. I don't think Nikola spoke to Poku about this before the game, but it was very obvious he wasn't trying to destroy Alexei in the paint, nor to challenge him too hard on defense. And of course, the team always takes the personality of their superstar. So everybody else just started settling for easy and energy-saving plays, threes, which resulted in abysmal shooting performance for the starters. The bench was hungry and tried to save them, but nobody can save the game when each starter is minus 25 in plus minus or something like that.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want anyone to think I'm putting this loss only on Nikola and the starters. I want to put it equally on the NBA as an organization. Now, this is a bit hot takey. I've said multiple times that the NBA is not a sports competition, but a revenue-generating company. And I don't expect that to change, but there are some things that can improve the competition and save us from the games that would mean nothing to one or both teams on the court. The play-in tournament was a step in the right direction, but the games need to mean more throughout the year, and comparing to what they mean today. So first of all, first thing that really makes me angry is the fact that the league is unfair. Different teams play different opponents, and the race to the playoffs is so uneven between the conferences. So the first thing to do would be getting rid of the conferences by each team playing 58 games, meaning every team twice. So we start with 58, and I still want them to play 82 games to preserve the historical stats. I'm
Okay.
just like Bill Simmons. I'm big on that, and I know that's not a big
Yeah, you and Bill
surprise to
Simmons,
you.
like right there,
Yeah.
right there.
So I need those remaining 24 games played against the competition that is more suitable for your team. This is when the conferences come back into play in a more fair way. Top 9 teams from each conference play 3 more times each other, and that's 3 by 8, that's 24 games. So you are getting like 5 games against the Memphis, 5 games against Golden State, Phoenix, such teams. So every game over there is high intensity game. You don't have the luxury of just resting on those games, and you need to bring it. So this is the solution for top 18 teams. So 9 teams in the West and 9 teams in the
Let
East.
me ask you a question quick. So that would mean basically your previous year would depend on top nine, as in from previous year you would schedule them for next year
No.
in that
It's
way.
just for the actual season. So after 58 games, you come to the All-Star break.
Okay.
You
Get it.
take top 9 teams from each conference, and now they are playing 2
Interesting.
separate top leagues, and then you have the rest of those teams, like how many? 12 teams that are not eligible for this. And
Huh.
I know you will say that's just bad. Who wants to watch those games? I would play those 12 teams playing each other twice for another 22 games, so that
And that's
brings the total
basically
to
for a
80
lottery
games.
off.
Yeah, and this is the twist. So
The best team
now
from that,
the
yeah.
best team from those 12 will get top chances on the
Yep.
lottery. I will keep the lottery because it's exciting and yada yada. They
But
will
just
get
reverse it. Yeah.
the automatic first pick, but they will get the best odds. So no tanking at all.
Yeah,
And
well, I mean, you're not like if you finish last, you're basically upside downing it. So like now, if OKC is best from the
yeah,
worst teams, they'll have the least odds. But then if they finish best for the worst teams, they'll have the top odds.
yeah. And those 9
Interesting.
teams in the West and 9 teams on the East are also playoff teams. With you can keep the play-in for 8 and 9 just to see who will be the 8th team, and then just play the playoffs. And those bad teams will have to compete against each other if they want to have good odds in the lottery.
Hmm.
It is not an original idea. This is actually what some soccer leagues in Europe do after like say 2/3 of the season. They just split the teams into 2 leagues, the good teams and the bad teams, and they just need to play with each other
Interesting. Yeah,
competition.
that sounds a lot. So basically, your mid-seasoning splitting up. NFL does a similar thing between divisions because always they don't have they're not playing against everyone every year. So there's some teams that don't just meet at all unless it's like Super Bowl. Basically, it's you have the top teams play the next year. Like from the previous year, top teams end up meeting next year from the conference. Like there's like you play your division and twice, and then you play the other division, some random division you rotate around in the NFL, and then the rest of the schedule is like against the teams that are on the same standings from parallel division. So like for example, if Nuggets were first in their division and Lakers were first in their division, they would meet next year for a specific number of times, and then Utah would meet like Clippers, blah blah. Like that's also like an option. Like they're kind of, but you doing it half mid-season, which it might be interesting. It's they're getting their mid-season tournament because basically, if you're splitting up bad and good teams, you have bad teams fighting for lottery, good teams fighting for seeding,
Yeah.
and you're basically guaranteed your playoff spot because you're there. Like there's no chance of OKC jumping over. I guess is that your reason too? Like they're splitting up, so if OKC beats a bunch of bad teams, they can't jump over the Charlotte Hornets because they were in the top 18 now, right?
And this is me being reasonable because what would be closest to my heart is that the bottom two teams that would finish 29th and
Relegated.
30th, I would just relegate them to G League for one season, and then they come back, and no owner would agree on that. So I'm realistic. But I am open on talking to Adam Silver. So Adam, give me a call.
We have his number from MPJ. No, but I'm saying, like, did you answer? Like, so that's your proposition to have right after 54, you
58,
you cut it off.
50, yeah,
58, you cut it
yeah,
off.
It's just you just get to the
It's guaranteed playoffs, and then you just go seeding, and then down there you go for lottery. It doesn't matter if OKC ends up with more wins than a top team because top team played harder.
Yeah, of course, they are two separate.
That's interesting. Again, like, I don't know if the statisticians would be upset because then it just ruins the whole history. But as far as if they want to change stuff, like, might as well. That's your midseason tournament. Like, there it is. You fight for lottery. Right. You fight for number one seed in the home court, and there's no conferences. Then you just fight for home court.
I could even see the season that only lasts for 58 games, which would be completely fair, and you could have we call that week 1, week 2, week 3 in Europe, when all the teams play in a span of 2 or 3 days. So there are no these situations like one team has 5 games played more than another team, and then this another team has to.
Yeah, the problem. I mean, obviously, they're the problem. Like, that's then it gets complicated. Well, geography, and also just you want more. You don't want one day to have 15 games and the other 0.
No. I would split it like 5 games a day every third day, and if you play every third game, 58 game season would be perfect. Of course, I know the owners want more revenue; they want more money, but.
No, that's interesting. We
will see what
fighting for the seed,
what the new TV deal will bring, because I think that arena money will be pocket. How do you say it?
Pocket change.
Pocket change comparing to TV deal next time. So they might be a bit more flexible in reducing the number of games.
Yeah, who knows? We'll see. Well, they're fighting. It's not number of games is not because of the arena. It's the TV rights.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, they're not. That's what I mean. If it's even more expensive, they wouldn't even do it then.
That's right.
It's cool. I like it. I mean, it's an interesting take. Like, I wonder what what people see in the comments and stuff, and we might pitch it to the DNVR guys to see if they want to do it, if they want to talk about it in one of their shows, because. I don't have any like comments, because it's really a nice solution to have 82 games, but then for the back half of it to mean anything for March.
I don't want to watch a single Denver versus.
Yeah, because then you can still have like someone resting players playing against a good team, but at least you get a chance to see Phoenix against Milwaukee a couple of times, and I don't care if they rest one of those times. If they rest their big players, at least they're good teams against each other. So, and they're then they're gonna be like, okay, I'm resting. That means I'll take a hit on the seating. There's that's on my end. Like, this way, you're right. Like, you tank or you rest, and you're not losing much. Like, Denver rested basically for a whole week based on their style of play, how they played, and didn't lose any ground in the standings. And it's a sucky week to watch basketball.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that was pretty great. Do you wanna go to do the Flirty dozen?
Yeah, I need the chat to help us out a lot right now, because
I'm doing my first guest spot at DNVR. I do the quiz alone, no help. So chat, help me.
Yeah, so we only have Voja here. Help him, chat. Please help him. I will take a look at the comments as well and see. So Flirty dozen for this week. We are talking. We're going with a smaller dozen, not 12 guys, but 9 guys. I call that a small dozen. So
yeah, we have 13 as the baker's dozen, and we have 9 as the.
Yeah, I don't know. We need a name for a 9 piece dozen.
The Nazgul for my nerd guys.
Okay, so these 9 guys we are trying to guess right now had excellent scoring games while flirting with 1 assist made. Or to put it into normal words,
Zero.
These guys had a game this season with at least 32 points scored and 0 assists. Now, I think everybody remembers that game from Bojan Bogdanovic like 3 seasons ago when he had 40 points, 0 assists, 0 rebounds, 0 blocks, 0 steals, 0 everything, pure bucket. Now, I'm not as crazy to ask for that. I just want 32 points plus and 0 assists
Zero
this season.
assists.
So we have 9 guys. Chet can have as many tries as they want. Voja can have only 9 misses. So let's try to do this.
50% chance. Okay.
You want to start off before I give you any hints?
Yeah, I'll go with Anthony Simons.
Anthony Simons is not on this list.
Not on the list. Okay.
Which is a bit surprising to me.
Yeah, I guess he was a score.
So what's a really good guess?
Yeah, that's interesting. Let's see what else I can give. Maxi probably has assists. He might have had. Let's go with Bojan Bogdanovic.
Bojan Bogdanovic is an excellent guess, but because I put the bar very high to 32, he is not on this list. He is one of those 25 games with no assists.
Okay, so chat is giving me Embiid.
Embiid is also a good try, but not this season.
So it's not my miss. It's a Klay Thompson from the chat as well.
Anna made a great guess. Klay Thompson, of course, is, and my hint for him was this guy is so good at shooting, he should never pass the ball.
Oh, okay. Yeah. He did have a 37. Was 37 some game? 34.
Klay had 33 points.
Against OKC, right? Was that one, or he had
more?
30?
It was against Golden State Warriors. Oh no, sorry. I don't have who against. Sorry.
Against.
Okay. I had it on my table, but I didn't.
He might have had assists on against. Okay, that's 32 and 0. Randall's all decent. DeJounte Murray not at all. Jokic. No, he had assists. Yeah. Barton, Gordon, I think they all had when they had 30-point games.
Let's start with some hints.
Yeah, let's go with hints. Yeah.
First guy, top of the list with 40 points. This guy was a number 1 pick, and he plays for a team in the Northwest.
Anthony Edwards.
Anthony Edwards is correct.
Number 1 pick gave me away. That's right. He's a chucker. Yeah.
40 points, 0 assists.
That's right. Anthony. I think freaking Moran had assists. Like he has those. He's a point guard. I think he's got.
Let me give one more hint. So the second guy, also with 40 points this season with 0 assists. This guy wasn't traded on the last trade deadline because of an injury. So the other equally good player playing the same position on his team was traded.
Oh, Marcus Morris.
No, Marcus Morris.
I thought he had 30. So 40 points. Someone was traded because of an injury. CJ McCollum.
It was a question. There are like 2 equally good guys.
CJ?
No, CJ is not on the list. Okay, let's move on.
Cam Reddish.
Cam Reddish is on the list. This wasn't a hint for him.
Oh, it wasn't a hint. Okay.
For Cam Reddish, I said this guy is now on the Knicks.
I have a suggestion. Beal said from the chat.
Bill is a really good try, but he is not on the list.
Interesting. So someone was traded because he wasn't because he was injured?
Yeah. Well, that's a take from people that are covering this team in the East. So
Miles Turner.
Miles Turner is correct.
Right.
Miles Turner.
He had beginning of the season, he had a 40-pointer.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's go to the number 3, 38 points, 0 assists. This guy.
Is it Cam Johnson from yesterday?
Cam Johnson, that's right. Cam Johnson is on the list. That's correct. Okay. Now, this next guy was an all-star starter for some reason this season.
Wiggins.
Andrew Wiggins, 35 points.
That's right.
Cam Reddish, we guessed. Okay, so this next guy is the Orlando Magic version of Will Barton.
Okay. Oh, it's not Cole Anthony. It's Terrence Ross.
Terrence Ross is correct. He had 33 points with 0 assists. We guessed Klay. So we now have only 2 guys left. One guy.
Let me see if I can come up with the name without the hint. Someone from Patty Mills.
Come on, man. Patty Mills is too good of a shooter to do that.
To have 0 assists?
Yeah. Too good of a passer, sorry.
But he had 30-point games. Let's see what else.
We have a guess from Miro, Jason Tatum. It's not correct,
Yeah, I was gonna say he
but
has also. He's
it's a good
yeah, it's a
guess.
good guess. Yeah. I mean, for sure. Like him and Brown. I mean, both are on that area. See who has RG Barrett.
RJ Barrett is a really good guess, and he is on the list if you go a bit lower than 32 points, but not on this one.
Shucks.
Let me give you one hint.
Yeah.
Okay, so this guy sucked last season in the complex Warriors offensive scheme, but now he's better.
Freaking Ubre.
Kelly Oubre, of course. Kelly Oubre.
How did I forget him? He had 30. Yeah, he had 30s off the bench. Like, there's no way that guy's passing.
32 points and 0 assists. Kelly Oubre is just not the guy for you if you want to play read and react.
What about Duncan Robinson? Did he get to 30 this year?
Not with 0 assists. He's not on this list.
Okay, last hint.
Last hint. Okay.
And my misery.
This will be too easy. This guy is a 7'3" guy that doesn't know how to back a smaller guy in the paint.
Oh, freaking.
You don't even have to say his
I don't
name.
even have to say it. Freaking unicorn. Unicorn my ass.
You remember the time when people were saying, is Kristaps better than Jokic, or is Jokic better
when
than
Jokic was in Europe and playing for Mega. Yeah, that's when he was better.
Such a bad take. Yeah, Steve May got it. Yeah, he said pores.
Pores, yeah. Yeah, that was the hint because it was the Mr. Glass first and
that's right. Oh,
great!
Yeah, almost.
That's awesome. We've finished. We're timing these really well.
Yeah,
we're on the. I was waiting for where to click and broadcast because I was doing that on our show. Yeah, thanks to everyone for watching. This was fun. Thanks for helping me for the Flirty dozen or the I don't know the 9 horsemen of the Lord of the Rings or something. We'll figure out the name for our 9 guys. See you next week. We'll see if it's going to be weekend or not. I don't know if there's back-to-backs. That's the only way. Follow us on Twitter, on our handles, social media stuff, DNVR everywhere. They launched the Chicago sports as well. Yeah, the Phoenix now. So it's now, once an accident, 2 times, 3 times is a trend.
We didn't comment on Adam making sure that he will follow Nikola Jokic
if he goes to Chicago.
100%, even if he goes to Chicago. He's just covering all the possible.
We'll leave that for later, some other time. Yeah. Thanks everyone. DNVR, follow everywhere, listen to us. Serbian Corner. Have fun. Idemo Nuggets.
Go Nuggets, idemo Nuggets.